Good morning. If you want to see how we restored this white rocking chair, stay tuned because that's what we're going to do today. Good morning. Welcome to another Memphis Monday 230, the 22nd video of our 5th year. Today we're going to restore one of those white rocking chairs. You know, you can buy 3 for $1 at big box stores and everywhere, and then when they rot out on your porch, you throw them away. Well, my next door neighbor, they're fixing to throw one away, but then they remembered me, and they knew that I like to fix stuff, and so they hooked us up. So let's see if we can fix that thing up, and maybe we can run some magic on it. Let's knock off the chit-chat and get to work. One of the things I know we got to do to the rocker is replace one of the rockers. So I've got a glue up going here. Here's a rocker, my favorite kind of project. It's not valuable, but it's broken. And just a quick inspection this morning, I discovered that the wood is rotten here in this side seat rail. You can just tear the wood out with your hands. The arm up here is rotten, same thing, so it's going to have to be replaced. And down here on the rocker, you can see the wood is rotten here. What's happened is water's run down, got in that joint. The more expensive rockers, these are curved over so that the water runs off and then get down in the joints. But we definitely have to do that. So I got my random orbit sander rigged up to a shop vac so I can do some serious sanding. And so what I'll do on the project here is I'll sand it and probe it with a screwdriver or a chisel, and discover what other repairs we have to do. I'll spare you that, and I'll just show you the results. Now, I'm not trying to sand the thing down to bare wood. All I'm doing is sanding to find paint that has failed, because if the paint's failed, that means there's a good chance the wood has failed. And I think I've found a place in here. So I was sanding along, and I noticed that all this paint here came off, and I think this wood right here, this joint, has failed. Let me turn it up on its side. Here's another telltale sign. You got a rusty nail right here. And over here you got the same thing, got a rusty nail. The wood's beginning to rot. And here's a nail that hasn't failed. See, there's no rust. There's no rust there. So I think we're going to replace this stretcher also. You can see how it moves. I don't know how those are in there. I think these stretchers are held in with screws, and they got a little wooden cover on them. I got replacements if I tear this up. Not giving up easy, is it? And there's the little plug. Yep, and there's a screw back in there. So I understand the screw, but does anybody know why that nail is there? That's It's got a screw. Why does it need the nail? I don't know why the nail's in there, unless it's the screw goes into a little metal fitting in there, and this thing is screwed in. And it could be that nail goes into that metal fitting, keeps that fitting from coming out. I think the arm is beyond reasonable hope, so I'm going to take it off for a closer inspection. The armrest is held with a dowel up in here and a screw back here. Here you can see two little dowels right there, two little brads right there. I'm having to go full gorilla to get this seat rail out. I had to cut it off and everything. Oh. So this first stringer we took off, or first stretcher we took off, turns out it wasn't rotten after all. Paint was just coming off. So, well, we need to replace this seat rail here and the arm here and the rotten rocker we took off here. So here are the three parts we're going to replace. I've replaced rockers before and arms, but I think the rocker might be actually the easiest. So I'm going to concentrate on the stretcher and the arm. What I've done is I've sized my stock. I sized my stock to the right thickness, and I'm just tracing the part out, and then I'll cut it out on the bandsaw. Let's get old Thumpy working. Cutting out the tenons, I've got to cut a tenon that looks like that. I've got it over here on my mandrel so it won't jump around. So I put the relief cut right across there, like that. That cuts across the grain, and then I can go back to that cut, and it won't split out. And then I can take the rest of it off. And I'll put some brads through in the corner for safekeeping. I don't know if this thing had a tenon in it or a floating tenon or a dowel. I don't know what it had, but we're going to put a fake tenon in it. Really what it is a dowel. This is the arm. Now this mortise right here is pretty ate up. We're going to have to reinforce it with epoxy later. Right now what I'm doing is marking exactly where to put the mortise for the arm. I'm going to make a mortise in the arm that's exactly that diameter, so that tenon will fit in it. This is my old arm, and there's my new arm. I got to find a Forstner bit that exactly fits that hole. And that one right there does it. I found the right Forstner bit, but I got to make sure that my hole is the right depth. Okay, it looks like it's about a ½ inch. The depth I want is just a little bit deeper than the depth of this cutting blade here. I'm just going to use glue on that front tenon, but on that back tenon, I'm going to try to reinforce it with some sawdust. Actually, they're wood chips and epoxy. Okay, let's see if we can get this thing in here with all that stuff I squirted in there. Now all my friends know is that their arm was broke, so I gotta make double sure that my arm stays together. Well, we got the arm in, brace, seat rail. Now I'll put the brace on the other side and we'll be on a roll and start working on the rocker. Here I'm tracing out our new leg. This is 2 pieces of oak that have laminated together. It actually comes out stronger than a single piece, but because of grain, it won't be aligned. Well, there's our new rocker. It's It's an exact duplicate. Now the trick is to position the mortises exactly in the right place. I got those holes marked. Now my concern is the mortise, the angle of the mortise. I'm operating on the assumption that the angle of that mortise is perpendicular with this surface right here. And that's what I'm going to go by. You zoomed in. So another thing I got to worry about is not only angle, they got to be in the right place. They got to be at the right angle. They got to be the right size. And they got to be the right depth. Take care of the depth part. I made this little depth gauge. And when it slides up to that line right there, I'll know that my depth is okay. Let's give it a whirl and knock off the chatter. I'm just going to glue the front tenon. That should do it. But for the back tenon, the back tenon right there is either, I don't know if you can see it, it's either broken off or it was made that way. So it's got some, it's going to leave a void in that, in the mortise. So I made up some, actually made up a better batch this time. This is real fine sawdust and epoxy. I'm going to put it down in that mortise. This will squirt out everywhere, but it'll fill that void. I'm going to add a little sawdust to this and make it a little thicker, because this back leg here is damaged down at the bottom. I'm going to kind of smooth it out with this mix here. The original had brads going into the side and through the mortise or the tenon, and so that's what we're going to do. These are 16 gauge. I think they're about 1.25 inches. We got this piece in, this seat rail. Got our rocker in, came out real good. New arm and 2 new braces. I also replaced these plugs here. What I'm gonna do now is just sand her down before we paint it. I'm not gonna take it down to the bare wood. I'm just gonna get the loose paint off of it and make sure it's clean. I'm using some of this Rust-Oleum stick to anything paint. Well, there we have it for Memphis Monday 2:30. We replaced the rocker down there, a seat rail, one arm, and added 2 braces. Replaced some of the missing plugs and gave it a paint job. So overall, pretty satisfied. Well, that does it for Memphis Monday 2:30. The what is it? The 22nd video of year 5. Today we restored a white rocking chair. I don't recommend doing that. I just do it because I like doing it. If you like doing it, it's great. Because, I mean, I got more in the paint than if I just went out and bought the darn rocking chair. I just do it because I like doing that. We replaced the rocker, which is good practice. The chair rail, or the seat rail, or the seat frame, sometimes called, and we made a new handle, and we gave it a nice paint job. Also showed you how to reinforce joints with epoxy and sawdust mix. We did a couple of joints that way. Actually, on that one piece of rotten wood, there's a technique where you can take epoxy and infuse it into the wood and strengthen the wood that way, but we didn't do that today. All right, so like and favorite and share and poke and peek and comment and all the stuff you know on the internet. But most important, make sure you're back here next week for another exciting Memphis Monday. Thanks for playing along.